Well, hey folks, real on Supercharm Wrestling. It's Times of Wrestling to Piss Me Off Redux Part 20. This will more than likely be the last part unless I get a ton of YouTube comments and suggestions for other things that I did not talk about in any of the previous installments. There's plenty of good in wrestling, there's plenty of bad in wrestling, and then there's the stuff that really pissed me off. Hence why I've been doing this series, The Redux, and why it's been so damn successful. And I just want to take a moment to thank you all for making this so much more successful in the previous edition. And the previous edition, previous series, the original one, did pretty well. This one smashed it. It's almost done double the views that the that the first series did. And part of the reason has been pacing. I've been pacing these shows out and everything. And yes, as I said in the beginning of part 17, 18, 19, I did say I was going to take a break till September. Current WWE products have been upsetting me. That's why I'm going to be doing these videos. So at the time of the recording, that's why I'm doing this, to get this anger out. So without further ado, let's get on with these 4 topics. And I do want to say that I did say in part 19 I was going to talk about a couple things that Vince did to piss me off. And I only talked about one because I wanted to move on from stuff Vince did because it made me uncomfortable. The second one of those will be talked about in one of these topics, so please stay tuned. And just thank you guys. Thank you guys for making this channel so good. It means so much. It really means a lot that you guys like what I have to say. So, here we go. Heel Michael Cole. Michael Cole does get a ton of shit that he probably shouldn't get. He is a human being. He's doing the best in the role that he's cast in. He has a 70,000-year-old crazed, roided up maniac yelling in his ears, a.k.a. Vince McMahon. And, of course, Vince McMahon did steroids. Did you see the guy? I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't work out. I'm not saying he's not a workout fiend, but come on. Anyway, heel Michael Cole was one of the worst things that I ever saw. And I ever had to hear. I mean, there's being a heel commentator and then there's being Cole. Now, to me, Josh Matthews is a whole lot worse. And I did talk about Josh Matthews in, I believe, part 12, if I remember right. It's one of those installments. I put all the topics in the description so you can take a look at that kind of stuff and see what I talk about, in what show. But the reason I didn't like heel Michael Cole is because the idea of him playing a heel and being a cheerleader for The Miz didn't bother me. Okay, cool. It gave Miz a little more credibility, because Miz had his own, his own announcer, so to speak. He had somebody that was over the top. The problem is The Miz is a hell of a talker. Cole is just not that good at the commentary thing. He was good on the UK tournament. He was good enough on Beast in the East. And when he doesn't have Vince yelling in his ear. You can say that about a lot of commentators. But heel Michael Cole, it got ridiculous. And I know that he was just casting a role. And do I think that Michael Cole's a bad guy? No, I don't. I don't think he's good at his job. He's as good at his job as he can be. I don't think he's a very good commentator. I never thought he was a good commentator. But the whole stuff of him costing Jerry Lawler a match against Miz. And then the whole Lawler-Cole feud, which was abysmal. Absolutely abysmal. We did not need to see Jerry Lawler, who shouldn't have been in a WWE wrestling ring at least at that point. I'm sorry, he shouldn't have been. I get why Lawler is popular and why he was, super popular in Memphis and was one of the biggest stars in wrestling. And he certainly did well there. I did not want to see Jerry Lawler in a WWE ring in 2011. His feud with Brett in the 90s was great. And he made periodic appearances here and there. I don't know. I just didn't want to see it. And I sure as hell didn't want to see him against Michael Cole. And yes, Cole as a heel was a good idea on paper. Because heel commentators aren't the worst, unless you become JBL with the authority and becoming the bully, and you're the bullying jackass that you've always been, which I will never change my opinion on because JBL's a bullying jackass. But there's heel commentary, and then there's what they were doing with Cole, and it got to the point where you had to almost mute the TV and just watch the matches because Cole took away from every single thing and made the product so goddamn hard to watch. And then that feud he had with Lawler, yes, bringing up Lawler's recently dead mother. Okay, I'm sure that Vince went to Lawler and said, hey, is it okay if we use this? And Cole was like, Jerry, I'm sorry, and then he probably apologized to him afterwards, even though they went over this stuff. So I'm not saying that Cole went into business for himself. It was clearly a Vince call, and Vince probably made sure that it was okay with Lawler, and Cole signed off on it too, even though he probably didn't want to do it, and probably got sick to his stomach like Randy Orton did when he said Eddie's not up in heaven, he's down there in hell, and Orton didn't want to say that. I did talk about that in a previous installment, one of the first installments I did. But with Cole, Part of the reason I hate it is because they tried to make him a wrestler. Lawler should have whipped his ass at Mania 27. That should have been the end of it. But no, they extended the goddamn feud for 2 fucking more months. And what the fuck was that shit? And yeah, I'm getting a little angry. But it may, I mean, I was actually at Over the Limit 2011 when they had the Kiss My Foot match thing, and I was actually hoping that somebody would have hurled something at Cole. And again, that's how angry I was. So it worked. It did work. But the bloom was off the rose by that point. Lawler got a good enough pop when he beat Cole, and then, you know, people came out, like, I believe Eve came out, hit a moonsault. JR came out, poured barbecue sauce on Cole, and then Cole, like, got away before he kissed Lawler's foot, and Bret Hart appeared and attacked him. And a huge pop for me, because that's the only time I ever got to see Bret Hart live. It's unfortunate. I wish I could have seen Bret Hart live otherwise. But WWE, when they came to Seattle, I never heard about it because back in like the early '90s, I don't think my dad would have taken me to the shows, even though it would have been kind of cool. And I got to see Bret Hart live, and that was pretty cool. But the idea of just having Cole in the ring was just not a good idea. I mean, was he a good antagonist? Yes, he got some good heat, but a lot of it was over the top, ridiculous, took away from so many of the matches that were going on. And Mania 27 in particular, once Cole was off commentary and they did that match, okay, at least it was nice that Cole was off commentary. But then, just the coal mine thing, and of course they busted that down. I believe just Taker and Triple H, they busted it down during one of their spots. But heel Michael Cole, I mean, what the shit? What the actual shit? It made that Mania one of the worst Manias of all time. I mean, yeah, it was just one match, but I didn't really actually care for the show anyway. But yeah, heel Michael Cole was rotten. Did its job in making me hate the guy, but it kind of made me hate him for all the wrong reasons because I had a feeling, you know, I don't think he's really like that. From what I heard, Cole's pretty damn professional. And again, has a 70,000-year-old roided up freak yelling in his ears, so I can only imagine what he deals with. And yes, I've gone a little nuts with some of the stuff I've said about Cole on Twitter. I don't imply that he should get injured or he should die. I don't imply that, but I go a little too far, sometimes calling him an idiot, when I'm sure he's an intelligent guy. He's just not very good with, you know, the commentary thing, because Vince overproduces him. But yeah, heel Michael Cole was rotten. That was a bit of a long rant. Then we go, boy. Last call with Scott Hall. WCW mocking his drunken behavior. I'm sure that Scott Hall wasn't the easiest to work with in WCW. He had his demons. He had that whole thing where he, you know, the shooting a guy, the accidental shooting. And I'm sure Hall didn't mean to. It was outside of a club, I believe. Club or a bar or something like that. And that affected him, as you would expect, as seeing anybody die in front of you probably would affect you. And he had a lot of demons, and I believe his dad was an alcoholic also. I forget, Scott Hall had a documentary that came out, and they had the resurrection of Jake Snake Roberts and talked about Scott Hall also, so that would be some better information to find out. So Hall has demons, and he had his vices. And yeah, they took a hold of him, especially in WCW, because A, he got more money, and he also had more time off. But WCW using it as a storyline was rotten. I get why, but to me it was in bad taste. And Monday Night Wars had a lot of shit in bad taste. And I might actually do an unpopular opinion on the Monday Night Wars for my own reasons. Like how I think WCW should have, you know, WCW could have won those damn things. Yeah, they could have won the Monday Night Wars. They could have. And they fucking should have if AOL Time Warner hadn't butt-fucked the whole damn thing. Sorry. You know, don't want to, they freaking just killed that company for absolutely no goddamn reason. Because they kept spending money in all the damn wrong places. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get that upset. It's times in wrestling to piss me off, but that's not a rant for another day. I just hate what happened in WCW. Yeah, they imploded themselves, but it was also the AOL Time Warner merger, and I hate that it happened because it ruined competition in wrestling. It just bothers me to this day. The last call with Scott Hall, I hate it. I just hate it because I know the Hall has demons, and maybe he wasn't the easiest guy to work with backstage, but this was bad. And they had to work, like they worked into a storyline with Nash beating up his best friend. I believe it was the Halloween Havoc 98, which I may do a 20-year reflection on, and might even actually talk to the Derb about doing a live reaction to to Hogan and Warrior and see that train wreck. I'll have to talk to him about that at some point. And let me know in the comments if you guys want to see that, or let me know on Twitter. But I hated what they did with the last call with Scott Hall. And yes, they had him in bars, and it was in 99 and that kind of stuff, and it was pretty shit. In fact, it was really shit. And I apologize if the camera goes blurry. It's autofocus, so sometimes my phone will do that. But I hated how they did this with Scott Hall. Because it wasn't a joke. It was a serious problem. And I'm sure that there were people that tried to help him. I'm not trying to imply that there weren't people backstage, especially Nash, trying to help him. But WCW should have done something better. They should have tried to help him instead of just turning it into a mockery thing for ratings, because it made them look petty. It made them look stupid. It made Hall look more like a fool than he should have on TV. And it was a rotten way to use one of the best workers that I've seen. Scott Hall, when he wanted to be, was fucking amazing in the ring. Yeah, he's had his stumbles, especially since his Hall of Fame induction. That's going to happen. I may be anti-drug, I may be anti-alcohol. But I do recognize when people are actually trying to overcome their addictions. I'm sure Hall was trying, even at this time. And what WCW did was really fucking bad. And actually made me, whoever greenlit this shit, it was bad. Whoever did. I mean, it could have been standards and practices saying, yeah, this guy, is taking us for all this money, or we're paying all this money out. Yeah, sure, go ahead, mock him. Or whoever thought it was a good idea. Fucking terrible. It just was. I mean, again, there's blame on both sides. Hall should have tried to get help or tried to take help if people offered it. But they shouldn't have used it on TV for ratings. It wasn't good. It wasn't good TV. That's the thing. If you play it for laughs and some good comes out of it or whatever, and Hall can get the help but can play it up on TV, okay, great. To me, it was just a personal attack. And it was the wrong kind of personal attack. Not that there's really ever a good personal attack. Even if some people aren't the best in the business, sometimes it's just fucking ridiculous. So yeah, I was a little bit angry. In fact, I'm going a little bit long on this stuff, so I might actually end up doing a part 21 at this point, because, yeah, I'm getting a little bit angry here in this video, and I apologize, by the way. I do apologize a little bit if I went just a bit too far with some of what I said. But I'm passionate about wrestling, and I hate the fact that there's not any real legit competition to make WWE come out of their frickin' shell, and come out of hibernation and actually try. Now, granted, when I'm recording this, WWE product is pretty low. By the time this goes up, because I'm recording this in June, by the way, I want to apply that. I'm recording this in June. This doesn't go until sometime in August, July or August, and the product's better. Well, recognizing when I record this, it was in June. But the last call with Scott Hall was bad. Really, really bad. A bad usage of one of the best workers that I've seen. I never got to see the guy live. I'm disappointed by that. I know the guy's not perfect. He has said some things on Twitter. He's had, and he's had his stumbles. But he's tried to overcome his demons. It's just, WCW should have just done something better. But anyway, whoever decided to do that was better. But anyway, the second thing I was going to talk about with Vince in the last episode, what I'm going to talk about here, Vince mocking God. Of course, I'm not religious at all. Anytime I went to church, like I went to church when I was younger, didn't really care for it. And I'm talking I wasn't even 10 before I stopped going to church. I've been in maybe 3 churches since then. And the most recent one was 2008, and that was a few times. I don't remember why I went there, whatever. It was because of a friend. It was a work friend of mine at the time. She wanted me to go to her church. Anyway, so I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't really care if religion's mocked in wrestling. I really don't care. Honestly, I don't. But the way Vince did it, this was just Vince stroking his ego and everything, and this was right after. it was implied during the build-up for the feud with Shawn Michaels, Shawn being saved and everything and that kind of stuff, and him being, you know, a born-again Christian, which, okay, whether people believe that or not, it seems to have positively influenced his life, and he's happy with his family, and that's great. But Vince, of course, after losing to Shawn at WrestleMania 22 in a match that was much better than I expected it to be, even though it was much more of a squash than anything, even though Vince got some shots in, it was much more of a squash. Yeah, then had Vince mocking God and, oh, you know, it was divine intervention and that kind of shit and whatever, and it was absolutely horrible. Absolutely 100% horrible. Didn't understand it all. Didn't understand why this shit was happening. It was bad. It was really fucking bad. I just don't understand why in the world they did this, because it was stupid TV. He went to church, spit holy water like Triple H and that kind of stuff, and it was really dumb. It was just really dumb. It just really was. Like, Vince mocking God was pretty fucking ridiculous. Like, I just don't understand, beyond stroking his own ego, why they did this. And then they did the whole thing of Backlash with the with you know, Shawn teaming with God, which was a spotlight. There were rumors it might have been Bret Hart or something like that. I don't get why, but it was good enough. It was good enough stuff, like, as far as like comedy. But it just got to the point where Vince was like, God, come back, you know, save your guy, this kind of stuff. It was stupid. It was just really fucking stupid. I just didn't understand it. I didn't understand it at all. I didn't understand why Vince felt the need to do it. Again, beyond his own ego. It was a stupid match. It was stupid shit. And of course, one of the producers happens to walk in here at this point. In fact, here, I'm going to introduce her, or bring her on, just before I close the show. What did you think of Vince mocking God? What do you think? Hi. What do you think? Okay. I don't think she liked it very much. Anyway, so here's basically the whole deal. And I apologize for the camera again going out of focus. Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to end this show right here. So, yeah, that's going to be pretty much the end of it. Vince mocking God was ridiculous. So, part 21 will come up at some point, because it turns out that I went long on these rants, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, agree, disagree with what I said. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Twitter link in the description. It's been Real Honesty with John Ritlin. I will see you soon.